who are the borrowers in bond markets? Here are some statistics. The U.S. Treasury is the largest, with around $11 trillion of outstanding Treasury bonds as of the end of 2012. A Treasury bond is an IOU from the federal government. It is a security entitling the holder to specified payments from the U.S. Treasury. Next are U.S. corporations, with around $8.5 trillion of traded bonds outstanding. Then there's a large dollar amount of bonds related to home mortgages, around $8.2 trillion. If you buy a home and take out a mortgage, you must make periodic payments to the bank to pay off that obligation. So in fact, when you take out the mortgage, you are selling a bond to the bank. The bank holds on to some of these individual bonds until they mature and the loan is paid off, but other mortgages are packaged together into mortgage-backed securities and sold to investors. The last category I'll mention are municipal bonds. These are bonds issued by state and local governments. There are about $3.7 trillion of these bonds outstanding. Combining these top four with several other categories, U.S. borrowers have issued $37.7 trillion of bonds. That compares to annual U.S. GDP of around $15.7 trillion. GDP is the total value of all goods and services produced in the economy, so the bond market is around 2.4 times our GDP. Do these statistics on the bond market represent all debts outstanding that U.S. borrowers owe to creditors? Definitely not. First of all, when I was talking about mortgages, I mentioned that some are sold to investors, but others are not. Those that are not remain on the balance sheet of the bank as loans. Banks, credit card companies, and the financing arms of many other companies also provide large amounts of business and consumer credit. This credit is to finance the purchases of consumer goods, capital goods, or general spending. Second, the federal government collects contributions from your paycheck for Social Security and Medicare called payroll taxes. In exchange, they have pledged to provide an annuitized stream of income for you or health insurance benefits when you retire. Those are also debt arrangements as well, where you have given money to the government through payroll taxes, and the government has pledged to pay you an annuity when you retire. Similarly, state and local governments and some firms have also promised payments to retirees through defined benefit pension arrangements and promises for retiree health insurance. These are not technically bonds, but Social Security, pensions, and Medicare are a large category of government debt. And just like if we were analyzing a bond or another type of debt, we'll have to consider whether there's a risk of partial default on these obligations. Finally, an annuity, the promise an insurance company has made to pay people streams of payments for the rest of their lives, is also a kind of private bond. The purchaser gave the insurance company cash when he or she retired, and the insurance company now owes the individual a stream of payments. So these other categories of debt, which we typically call loans and pensions instead of bonds, are really just like bonds, other than the fact that they are not quite as readily tradable. But the difference is not as great as you might think. Banks actually can syndicate loans and repackage them for investors. Insurance companies trade bond-like securities that provide many different types of streams of income. And as long as we know what the promised stream of payments looks like and what the risk profile is of those payments, we can price these promises as though they were bonds and get a sense of how much that promise is worth.